Okay, here we go. We're going to make pita bread. Now, what you need is a sponge. This in that bowl there, that's a sponge. And a sponge is 1 cup of water, 1 cup of flour, and 1 package of yeast, or 2¼ teaspoons of yeast, either way. All right, now what you do is you mix that together and then let it sit for about an hour in a warm place. And what it does is that's going to ferment, and it gives you a different flavor and a different texture to the bread. So mix that up. That's called a sponge. Mix it up, let it sit for an hour. All right, then you're going to pour it into your mixing bowl. Then you're going to add to that, you're going to add 1½ tablespoons of oil, 1¾ teaspoons of salt, and 1¾ cup of flour. That's what you're going to add to that. There goes the oil. Let's see, the salt is coming up here in a minute. All right, then what you want to do is you want to knead it for about 10 minutes. If you're doing it by hand, you know, it takes a while. But you got to remember, in the beginning, they didn't have mixing machines. They did it by hand. So, like I say, if you're doing it by hand, you're going to do approximately 10 minutes of kneading. All right, there went the salt, and here goes the flour. You don't add any more yeast. The yeast is in the sponge. The sponge is important. It gives it a different kind of flavor. It's kind of like a sourdough, only all the ingredients are fresh. They're not, you know, sourdough, you know, sits around for a long time. All right, now we're just going to mix this, like I say, for approximately 10 minutes. I'm going to speed it up here. These things are great, man. You know, even the ones that don't, you know, that don't have a pocket, you can make little pizzas out of them. You know, you just put some pizza sauce, some cheese, pepperoni, sausage, whatever you want, and then throw them back in the oven. All right, this stuff is done. As you can see, it's cleaned away from the sides of the bowl. It is a little sticky, so, but that's what you want. You know, you want it a little bit sticky. Okay, I'm going to dump it out here onto the cutting board. Now we're just going to make it into a ball, and then it goes back into the bowl, and it has to double in size. There was some oil inside the bowl I just put in. I put some oil on top of it. Now I'll cover it with a wet towel and put it someplace warm. It's got to double in size. You know, I can't tell you how long that's going to take. It all depends on the temperature. All right, there you go. It's ready to go now. Now this recipe makes 8 pita breads. I'm going to make 9 because some of them are going to be a little smaller. All right, cut that in half. Now, if you were making 8, you know, you would just cut 4 out of each. But I'm going to cut 5 out of this one. All right, that last one is a little bit small. I got to add to it. Okay. All right, and 4 for that one. Okay, now what you want to do is roll them out about 1/4 inch thick. Okay. In the meantime, I have a cast iron skillet on the stove, and the oven is set at about 475. You gotta use a hot oven. This is probably better to make during the winter than the summer because of the oven. All right, there's the small ones. Here's the bigger ones. the dough is not real elastic like bread dough. You know, so it's kind of easy to roll it. You know, bread dough, boy, you'd be rolling for a while. All right, now you brush the top with olive oil, and you drop that into a hot pan. There you go. Now you're going to see some bubbles start to rise. The bubbles are, that's what's separating the two pieces of dough. The bubbles on the inside. So in other words, if you didn't have any bubbles, the dough wouldn't separate. You wouldn't have a pocket. You know, it wouldn't be pita bread. It would be something else. All right. Now what's going to happen is you brown that off a little bit in the frying pan. And then, well, hold on, and I'll flip it over here in a minute. And then it goes into the hot oven. Now in the oven I have it's like a, I don't know what you call it. It's a pan that you bake pizzas on. And that's in the oven right now, and it's getting real hot. So that's what you want to do. Once the other side gets brown, then you're going to put it in on that pan in the oven. And they stay in the oven probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes in the oven. They're almost cooked in the pan right here. They're almost cooked, but not 100%. But you see the bubbles? That's what's going to cause the pocket, or the bubbles. So that's what you're looking for. You know, you could put granulated garlic in this. You could use herbs, although they might burn a little bit. But, you know, you can do anything you want with it. It's really good dough. I mean, it tastes really good. The sponge is what does it. You know, the sponge is what gives it that flavor. You know, it's like the difference between an English muffin and a dinner roll. The flavor, you know. All right, you might want to wipe the pan out because of the flour. Now that pan is pretty hot. Okay, these, I just folded them over. All right, so wait, at the end I'll show you. When you go to cut them, you just cut the flat part there, and you've got a perfect pocket. There you can see the bubbles coming up. Now, even if it doesn't bubble up, you can still do anything with this bread. I mean, you could put cheese on it, you know, and bake it. You could put, you know, there's a whole bunch of things. So even if it doesn't bubble to make a pocket, it's not a waste. You know, you can still use it. All right. Okay, listen, the recipe is, for the sponge, the recipe is 1 package of yeast or 2 1/4 teaspoons, 1 cup of warm water, and 1 cup of flour. That's the sponge. Now you mix that together and let it sit for approximately 1 hour in a warm place. Okay, then to that you add 1 cup of flour, 1 1/2 tablespoons of oil. It could be olive oil or vegetable oil, doesn't matter. 1 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 3/4 cups of flour. And then mix that for approximately 10 minutes. Then put it into a warm place where it'll double. Then take it out, smash it, pop, you know, get the bubbles out of it, and separate it into individuals, and then start rolling it. It's really not that hard. You know, the sponge, you can make the sponge up and then just go do something else, you know, watch TV or something. All right, here's what the inside of the oven looks like. You see that pan that they're sitting on? I don't know what you call that. But anyway, they stay in for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 minutes. They come out, they're looking like this. Man, these things are good. And you know, the good thing about it is you know what's in it. There's no preservatives, there's no garbage, no nothing. All right, now look, when you cut them, cut the pocket. Look at this right here. Holy moly. That's what I'm talking about. It's perfect. It's the way to go. All right, listen. Hey, let me tell you something. It doesn't get any better than this. I'm going to eat. See ya.